Linda.
Hello, I'm still organising I had to change to the iPad.
Oh.
We had bad luck with the computer, whatever went wrong.
Mm.
Isn't it funny? And we were so organised, and Ellen saying to me, "Oh, you're so organised."
What else she is? She's so organised, and then the computer wouldn't work.
Oh, I don't know why.
Has everyone seen Michelle yet? I don't know who jumped in.
There's Jackie. Hello, Jackie.
Michelle.
Hi, Michelle.
Hello. Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you.
Hello, Linda.
Hello.
Hi, Linda and Ellen. Yay. Great to see you.
You too.
Can't wait to play ukulele with you.
Oh, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
Have you been practicing, Jackie?
Oh, not enough.
Oh,
Yeah, the moment I pick up a ukulele, I just feel my whole body go, woo, we're back into fun time. And here's Michelle. Great to see you, Michelle. Wow, we're so lucky
Good to see you. It's nice. It's always nice once you get onto the line and then you go, oh, it's okay. We're here.
Hello, Diane.
hello.
Hi, Liz. How you going? Hi, Ellen.
Hi.
I had some lemon and honey to help the voice.
Oh, very good.
Sensible.
Excellent. Yeah, it's always good to have a cup of tea nearby, isn't it?
Yes.
Or a glass of water.
Yeah, that's right.
You've not got that.
Linda, while I've got you really quickly, I might drop by your house this afternoon and pick up that book if it's okay.
Yes, I'd love you to. Now, roughly what time would that be? Just approximate.
Yeah, I think probably around 4.
That's fine. Perfect.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Great.
Awesome. Are we waiting on anybody else, Leonie?
I haven't heard of any.
Maureen Zampatti was coming on,
Oh,
but I guess we better start.
I'll
I'll
send her
apologise
a
in
message.
advance. I've got some guy chopping down a tree outside my window, so
Oh, lovely.
sounds like a mosquito or the roof starts rattling. I'll be running out of the room big time. Anyway, I think we may as well get going. Welcome everybody, Michelle especially.
Thank you.
Let's start in the normal way. All see that okay?
yep.
Beautiful. Welcome everybody to October. God, the year's almost gone. Incredible. But we're surviving the pandemic and the end is in sight in a good way. First of all, I'll quickly do this because we all know about it pretty well anyway. And Michelle, I'm sure, has picked up from Jackie what we're on about. We have, as stated, our vision and mission statements to look after those, in essence, that need some support and comfort. That could be as a result of isolation, grief, loss, etc. So we're here basically to give people a bit of relief from the stressful situations they might find themselves in for a variety of reasons. We do that a number of ways through health and education promotion, and today's an example of that. I know Leonie does a lot of referral and advocacy for people going to medical places, and we have all the other resources of our health ministry. Before we start, we need to acknowledge our Aboriginal friends in recognising the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people's spiritual and cultural connection to country. I would like to commence our session by acknowledging the First Peoples and the traditional owners and custodians of the country, the Wadawurrung people on whose land PHNA is located. We respectfully acknowledge our elders, past and present, and remember that they have passed on their wisdom to us in various ways. Let us hold this in trust as we work and serve our communities. Leonie, as usual, is going to lead us in opening prayer. Do you want to lead in, Leonie, or?
Yeah, well, Linda's familiar, and Jackie, with this signed prayer that a doctor in the USA has put together a lot of old traditional prayers. So this is a familiar prayer, Amazing Grace. So it's just a couple of choruses from Amazing Grace, signed, and invite you, if you want to follow along with the signs that Anne uses for the sung prayer.
Thanks, Leonie.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a soul like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a soul like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see.
Thanks, Leonie. We move on to Leonie's presentation. Do you want to take over from here, Dol? You can. I better unmute you all. Unmute Leonie. Leonie, can you unmute yourself there?
Mute.
Yep.
Yep. And the slides are showing, are they?
Yep.
Okay.
That was beautiful, Leonie. Wow.
Oh, good. Jackie, thank you for leading. I couldn't see the movements.
Oh,
That was great.
oh, good. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. Okay. So today, a little bit of a deviation. We're normally talking about aged care, but there's a lot of grief and loss associated with birth. So I thought I would use my midwifery knowledge to share a little bit about healing birth trauma. And at the end, Michelle is going to talk about how she works with therapies to help with trauma and loss. So that's the story there. Now, next slide, Rod. So we're on to, can you see the slide, what is birth trauma?
It says physical birth trauma.
Okay. Well, the second one should be what is birth trauma? We've skipped one by the look, but that's okay.
Oh,
I can just speak to that.
There we are.
Okay, so birth trauma, you know, for many women, birth is a positive experience, but for some it can be very negative or, you know, mixed emotions. So the birthing experience can involve physical and or psychological injury. And the Australian Birth Trauma Association define trauma as a wound, a serious injury or damage, and it can be deeply upsetting and distressing, or a combination of both. And both the mother and father and partner can be affected by birth trauma. Often we see in the birthing suite, you know, the partner's totally bewildered out of, you know, losing control, and seeing their partner in trauma can be really difficult and take a long time for the dads to process. So moving on to some of the causes of the physical trauma is on the next slide is the injuries that occur as a direct result of the birthing process. So there can be, from a rapid delivery, there can be tears, perineal tears, there can be damage to the pelvic floor muscle. There can be also prolapse, which can happen, pelvic fractures, and I have seen that fracture of the coccyx. So that makes very difficult, recovery and capacity to care for the baby with fractures as well. And of course, the obvious trauma to the body is the cesarean wound. So those are the physical precursors to birth trauma. The next slide is the psychological birth trauma. So the shock of what happened during the birth process can bring about a number of mental health issues, including anxiety, depression, and other disorders, such as post-traumatic stress disorder. And some people experience severe emotional distress after the traumatic birth, even though there was no physical trauma involved. And some of the possible precursors there, during the birth experience, that feeling of loss of control, of not being listened to or respected, not feeling supported by a partner or health professional during labour, and of course with COVID, that the restrictions on people allowed in, particularly with caesarean births, the partners are not allowed in theatre quite often. So that can cause quite a lot of trauma, feeling alone amongst that sea of strangers in a cold, bright, sterile theatre. It can be quite unnerving. And inadequate or failed pain relief, or refused pain relief. I know when I was doing my midwifery course back in the 80s, we had one particular charge nurse was really reluctant to hand over the keys for pain relief, and it used to be such a frustration. We used to dread working with her because you'd ask for, we used to give pethidine in those days, and we'd ask for could we have some pethidine for a woman, and in a minute, and it could take ages. But interestingly, after she had her first baby, there was no problem finding her. She was always there and ready to offer pain relief. And thinking that you're going to die, that's quite a common fear amongst women, particularly when things go wrong, and even fear of a planned caesarean. A lot of women share that they have this underlying fear of maybe dying, not waking up after their or dying on the table. So they're significant. And then, of course, we've got previous experiences that can impact on the mental health, the stillbirth, or other, adversity that can have flashbacks, and fears of giving birth can really play a big part in the progress of labour. Previous sexual or other abuse can also be triggered. The triggers can cause a lot of problems and angst during birth. Inadequate pain relief, as I said before, and physical birth injuries that you may be managing from previous births. So just some of the symptoms that occur after the next slide. You can have continuing pain around the site of the, so if you've had stitches for a torn perineum, the continued pain. There can be issues with urinary or fecal incontinence, and we know that's a really big problem in some countries, some developing countries, where women have to live with the damage that is not repaired. So there can be difficulty with constipation, opening bowels, fear of using the toilet after a trauma, whether it be caesarean or perineal trauma. So constant lower back pain, the sensation of a prolapse, having a constant bulge, feeling a sense of dragging. It can be difficulty standing, lifting, tiredness, and there can be sweating and shaking and dizziness and gastrointestinal problems. There can be stress-related symptoms there, palpitations, and yeah, just generally quite difficult physical symptoms can follow a birth trauma. So moving on to the next slide, we have a list of common psychological symptoms. There can be feelings of intense fear, helplessness, horror in reaction to reminders of the experience. Simply reading a woman's birth account can trigger memories of your own, and that can be really difficult to deal with. There's symptoms of PTSD. There can be smells, just simply smells that remind you of hospital or the theatre, words, particular rooms or a particular hospital, and fear and anxiety about going outside can be also an issue. The birth trauma can leave women with a poor self-image, feelings of guilt, feeling that they weren't able to birth themselves and needing help. Memories of flashbacks of the delivery can also occur during sexual relations. Trying to push feelings away and getting on with looking after the baby is really difficult. So there can be also difficulty sleeping, nightmares, feelings of isolation, irritability, anxiety and panic attacks, avoiding reminders of the traumatic birth, such as the location where it happened, or the tendency to become stressed and anxious when being close to the location. So triggers from the incidents of birth trauma can show up at any time and in many different ways. Some women feel totally unemotional, numb or detached from others, activities or surroundings, and some medicate with alcohol or drugs to try and deal with the unpleasant after effects. So, there's quite a variety of issues that can emanate from birth trauma. And the next slide is Casey Rose wrote this. Someone who drowns in 7 feet of water is just as dead as someone who drowns at 20 feet. So stop comparing traumas, stop belittling yours or anyone else's trauma because it wasn't as bad as someone else's. This isn't a competition. We all deserve support and recovery. And I think that's really important because, there's so many birth stories that come out when you announce a pregnancy. Everyone's got a story, and there's this sort of it seems to be a competition to compare, and really, no matter how small the event appears to someone else, it really is a personal, individual experience, and people should be honoured and respected for if they feel trauma, if they exhibit symptoms, or they have having reactions to their birth experience. That should be respected and supported, and it's really important that we can get people to the right care, because everybody, health practitioners all have their specialties, and sometimes we need to refer outside our own specialty, and as well as encouraging self-care. But the next slide talks a little bit about some of the, as I say, the specialist referral, the importance of exercise and nutrition, and having a social network, being able to talk with people, and particularly your own tribe. Like there's with social media now, there's a lot of different support groups that you can join, Facebook groups, Instagram groups that you can actually talk with people who've been through the same thing, and find hope, and in connecting with those people. So I always say it's really important to seek out people who can share your experience and understand the healing process. Taking time out is really important too, because really once you're home with that new baby, it's really, you're on a treadmill really. It's, just between feeds and feeding and sleeping, it doesn't seem that, you have time for much else. But if you can find a good trusted friend who can give you some time out, even a couple of hours, just to take a walk in nature or do whatever energizes you. And mindful self-compassion is also really important to, perhaps to find some ways to be kind to yourself, to help the healing process. So that's for the physical, and then of course the psychological, accessing a debriefing service. Ideally, you would be offered that in hospital or soon after, but if COVID is really changing things up. I mean, women are not staying in hospital very long anymore. There's very early discharge after cesarean births, even 24 hours women are going home, and if they've had a traumatic experience, not to be able to speak that out and help make sense of it is really quite difficult. So accessing a health professional to really talk through your experience is important. And then other therapies, psychotherapy, counselling, art therapy, journaling. And sometimes it's really important to actually make a formal complaint if there has been some negligence or some issue that needs to be addressed. So that can all be part of the healing journey. So the next slide is just a little bit of an idea of what's available. There are, and often a referral is required from the general practitioner, although organisations like PANDA, Post and Antenatal Depression Association, and APTA don't require referrals, nor do Beyond Blue and COPE. So there are some dedicated resources out there available to access. And I think that possibly is about the end of the information. So perhaps we could just open for discussion if anyone has any questions or comments around birth trauma and recovery.
Well, that's really great to know, Leonie, that you don't need a doctor's referral to go to some of those organisations, because sometimes that's half the battle. Oh my God, I've got to go to the doctor, I've got to pay for that. Where's the bulk billing clinic? Whereas if there's an organisation you can go to straight away, like Beyond Blue, yeah, that's great.
Yeah, no, there's some excellent resources, and really the GP referral, I'd sort of say really only if you're needing a mental health plan, because they're the only ones who can sign you off to get some, I think it might be 12 sessions from a counsellor, Medicare funded. So that's, if finances are a problem, which they often are, then you need to make an extended appointment with a GP to be able to get your healthcare plan written up for referral. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fabulous, because I know that wasn't around when I gave birth to Emmanuel 25 years ago.
Yeah.
I do remember connecting very strongly with my maternal health nurse, and I always felt like, oh, this session's never long enough with her, and it would have been great to know, oh gosh, there's something else that I could go to where I could be totally myself and objective, and sure, there's friends and there's family, but they're always there for support, but to be able to go to someone who really doesn't know you, it makes all the difference, doesn't it?
Absolutely, Jackie. That's so true. And we were lucky when we had our babies three weeks apart. Was it? No, August and September, in '95. And at that time, the maternal and child health services were a lot more freely available. But now they're really limited, the appointments, and the amount that you can have, and the timing, I think. And my colleague in the UK was telling me that in the UK, everyone gets a midwife. A midwife follows them, or what they call a healthcare visitor, and they're often midwives, will follow them till the baby's 5, for the first 5 years. So you've got that continuity of care. We don't have any of that here, and it really worries me. And I've a few friends in maternal and child health, and I said to them, when post-Caesar mums come to you, do you check the wound and talk about the mother and her healing process? And she said, oh, sometimes the women, I say, well, do you want me to look at your stitches? And she'll say, oh no, it's okay, I'm seeing the doctor in 6 weeks' time. But it's a long time. There's that, you leave hospital and then there's 6 weeks, and so much can happen in between. And I think it's really important that we promote other specialties to be able to pick up where I guess the hospital leaves off. It's a real gap, I think, and that's why I am a really strong advocate for seeking other care outside, someone to walk the walk with you, because no two journeys are the same. And quite often things have changed from our parents' days, so we really need to be up to date, and that's where these websites and groups can be really helpful and make such a difference to your bonding and parenting experience.
Yeah, and I think it's also cultural too, because I know my father always was perplexed in this country that there was no midwives. So in the Netherlands, you don't go to hospital to have your baby. You have your baby at home, and you have a midwife that follows you through, and that's been there, since before the world wars. And he couldn't believe that wasn't happening here. And I think there's difficulty there, for just connecting with your new baby boy, and he's so distant and in another room, and all of those sorts of things that are difficult for the fathers anyway. So I really do hope things can change a little bit more in this culture.
Yeah, well, I think the research is out that continuity of care, having your own midwife and birthing in a home-like environment, has far better outcomes. And I know that the Australian College of Midwives are really campaigning to grow the continuity of care, and so that we can have that service. But it'll be the extraordinary, not the ordinary service, for a long time, I think, which is a real problem.
It feels like often there's a lot of the attention is all on the baby, so it's all about the mother and all about the process of getting to the birth, and then as soon as the birth has happened, the eyes look to the baby, which can sort of compound that feeling of guilt and worry and judgment that a mother might feel when they've just had a baby and aren't doing so well underneath, I think. And so whether it's friends visiting or when you're walking down the street, no one's looking at you anymore, they're looking at the baby. And usually, I guess, good rule of thumb is healthy mother, healthy baby, and that really needs to be remembered, because that adjustment means good connection, I think, as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Michelle. To be able to treat the mother and baby as a unit is so important for the health and well-being of both mother and baby and all relationships. So, yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. And I know when I had one of my Caesars, I had a particularly traumatic experience where the anaesthetic didn't completely work. And for 3 months after that, I was like, I got through the ordeal with prayer, actually, and because no one else was helping. And so I just went into this deep meditation, got through. And 3 months after, I read an article about a woman who'd had surgery, and she described the scalpel as feeling like a hot knife cutting through butter. And that was it. I lost it. It was like I was right back there in theatre. And being a midwife, I thought, I've got to get over this. But I was such a mess, really. I used to say to my husband, when people ask you how I am, what do you say? And he says, oh, I say you're all right. And I said, well, I'm not. I might look all right, but I'm not. And I wasn't sleeping, and I was hyper anxious. And I had this amazing friend who said nothing. She didn't, dare to question me about, how I was behaving, but obviously she could see that I wasn't myself. And so she used to come every Tuesday. She'd say, I'm coming and you're going out. And she used to look after they had the two little ones, and she'd bring her boys, and they'd have this wonderful playtime. And I used to go down to the river with a folding chair and read a book. And the book was called Falling Apart. And it was all these stories of people who had had traumas and depression and put themselves back together. And that was the beginning of my recovery. But boy, so that's why I am so in tune with women who are struggling and wanting them to get to the right people. And I think we've got one of those people here today. So I'm going to hand over to Michelle. Am I? Or are we doing the ukuleles?
Let's go to Michelle's, Jade.
Yeah.
Are you doing art therapy now, or wasn't Michelle going to talk at the end of your talk anyway? And then we'll go into ukulele.
Yes, I think the slides are out of sync. If you're all right to wait, Linda, we'll go ahead with Michelle.
Yeah.
So thanks so much, Michelle, for coming along to share your experience of working with people through trauma.
Thank you, Leonie. It's definitely a subject that's close to my heart. So I'm really here as an art therapist today, but I also have a strong background in birth, and having birthed 5 babies myself and had the experience of miscarriage and things as well. I guess I understand the broad variety of emotions and different experiences one person can have from something that people think might look the same normally. But what I will do is I'll just pop on a share screen. This is just a little bit about me. I'm an art therapist. I do several different therapies, commitment, acceptance and commitment therapy, which really is based around being in the present moment, accepting what we can't change, and allowing ourselves to move forward with our values. And I guess you might hear me refer to that when I take you through an art therapy process. So I hope everyone has some art materials in front of them as well, because I'd love you to actually feel the experience of what it is to journey with art therapy. Otherwise it can sound quite esoteric and this and that, but really when we experience or try something, then all of a sudden we have our own embodied experience of what that is and how it can work. So I really hope we can do that today. I have done a lot of work, I became an art therapist, and I did a lot of community arts work and a lot of work in mental health, but whilst in the throes of basing myself as a at-home mother, I also did a lot of different things with pregnancy and birth and did doulaing. So I used art therapy with women in a birth house environment where people would be able to use it as a reflection tool. So within that, just seeing if I can, oh, there we go. So using art as a reflective tool for people. So first of all, I'd just like to explain what art therapy is. Art therapy can be any modality of art. It can be dance, although there is specific dance therapists out there. It can be music, but there's also specific music therapists out there. But art therapy is using a modality of creativity other than using our conventional voice to express what our experience is. We can use it personally for ourselves as a reflective process, a journaling process, but we can also use it in a supported environment where it becomes psychotherapeutic. And then we use that creative expression to give voice to things that might just be a felt sense that we don't necessarily understand. So that works on a number of levels to assist, because sometimes we do get disconnected from our mind and what's going on with us physically, whereas art therapy really asks people to consider, how am I in my space, in my world? How am I in my body? And how am I relating to that? How am I relating to my experience in my world, in my body, with my feelings, with my thoughts? And what does that look like? And so it's very process-based within that as well, because there is no need to have artistic experience or background. It's really about moving into a process that's a mindful process, and seeing what eventuates and comes from just using colour and movement and form as a very subtle way to be with self. So for those people who find it hard to meditate or do mindful practice, art can offer a way to quieten the mind, so that if we're feeling a roadblock and we're feeling like, I just don't understand and there's too much going on and there's a feeling of overwhelm, then what we can do when we're using art is we can allow ourselves to focus. So we're using our body and we're focusing our attention, and then thoughts can come up, and instead of them constantly coming up and not being heard or being overloaded and bombarding us so we can't hear or do anything or attend to them, we're just sort of quietly allowing ourselves to be in a space where we can hear our thoughts and feel our feelings at the same time as giving it a little bit of distance. And what we often find is that it allows thoughts to move as opposed to repeat themselves, because if our relaxation is watching TV, for example, we're still getting more input. or if it's doing a particular job that we have to do for a particular reason, we've still got a dialogue going on in our mind that is taking the focus in the sort of solution-based mind. So it's sort of changing that as well. Sorry. So I guess the next question, this is taken from the birth house in Geelong by someone I was working with, and they're there with their baby, because if we're working with trying to do art, sometimes we have to do it with our babe right next to us. I mean, ideally we'll have, you know, whether it's 5-10 minutes or half an hour to ourselves to actually drop in. But often for a new mother or second time round mother or third time round mother, that luxury is no longer there. But just I'd like to speak to why art might be useful for trauma. So when I've also do trauma work in hospital setting, I do EMDR and Act for Trauma as well. So just to express a little bit about how trauma works, to also speak to what Leonie's already spoken to. Often, you know, memories haven't had an opportunity, that part of us that you know, when we talk about grief and loss, when we talk about trauma, when we talk about birth, we're going through a significant life change, and birth is often put into a place where it's either, oh, that's painful, or, oh, we don't talk about that, or, oh, we talk about that, about the baby or the pain. But then often after the birth, it's all about the baby and not about what residue might there still be having had that experience. But often what people are feeling is that that memory is right there with them, and like Leonie expressed, that the whole body experience of trauma can come up and create sort of waves of emotion that feel uncontrollable. And the more we don't attend to them, the bigger the build-up and body experience can happen in reaction to having gone through a life-threatening situation, or a loss of self, a loss of sense of control of body, a loss of sense of control of life, a loss of sense of control in general, and the grief that comes with that too. So all of those layers can build up, along with no sleep and being time poor. So what we're wanting to do is take some of those memories that end up like books scattered all over the floor. What we want to do is we want to take those books and put them back in the library, back when that memory was appropriate. And part of the way we can do that is be in our open reflective space of being and tending to all emotions that we're having. So that's thoughts, feelings, sensations, urges, and memories. And allowing space for them to be in our world. Not trying to push them away, but allowing those things to be there. And when we come back to being present, we can also start to, you know, pick up that book and put it back in the library where it was a past experience, and begin to experience the experience that we're living now without all of the same emotions arising as if it was happening right now. Yeah. So art therapy is a process-based therapy, like I said before, but it also is about being in the now. So if we think about the past or the future, we can't change that. And when we can't change that, that can create a whole lot of frustration and worry and upset and anxiety. But when we can bring ourselves back to the moment and know that we are in control of that moment, even if we are having a huge amount of sensation, thoughts, feelings, emotions, and urges going on, if we can come back to the moment and be with those things and give them space. One way we give them space in art therapy is by expressing them. So all of a sudden, all of the things that I'm feeling here can slow down and I can put them on the page. So when I can slow that down and put those thoughts, feelings, emotions, sensation's a massive experience that we embody and don't know how to move and shift. But if we actually be with them, like those thoughts and feelings, then we suddenly sort of dissolve into them, and sometimes a lot of those thoughts, feelings, or those sensations dissolve too, because they're being given attention and we're also giving them expression. So that's hopefully explains a little bit about how art can offer a relief and release and acknowledgement of trauma. I guess again, just speaking to the concept of why it's important to come back to the present moment. I guess, you know, it's spoken in that when we acknowledge, we embody, we are reflective, we're allowing, and we can be curious, and we can extend even further into an experience. So what I will do before I take you through an art therapy process is take you through a really short mindfulness process. And the thing about mindfulness and bringing yourself back to the present moment, it brings you back to what you can control and what you are, what is real, what is tangible, and the overwhelm can relax a little bit as well.
Lovely. Michelle, I'm
sorry.
wondering if we could just have a short break and have the ukulele and the songs and then come back to your beautiful mindfulness.
What's that? That'd be wonderful. I know that the Amazing Grace was a beautiful way of becoming present as well. So I think that the ukulele will as well. That'd be wonderful.
Lovely. All right. Where's Linda and Alan? I've got to see you. Oh, there you are.
And Rod has got the words, I think.
So we'll have to share which you're starting with the welcome song, Linda?
Yes, the welcome song, if I could just introduce it, it's the chorus is singing to reliability, and I think everyone knows that tune, so you can join in, but the final line is this COVID year 2020. So if you'd like to join in.
Now, when we share this, we need to understand that Zoom only has one audio channel.
Yes.
So Linda and Ellen will be singing and everyone else will be muted. So when you are singing, you're singing at home. Otherwise, we'd have the video dropping all over the place. So everybody's got to mute themselves, and we'll leave Linda and Ellen off mute. So I'll put up the first song and then we'll go from there. Thanks, Linda.
Welcome to Pamper Day October. This COVID has caused us to Zoom. So join in all of our therapies. This COVID year 2020. Sing it to reliability. Sing it to reliability. Sing it to reliability. This COVID year 2020. We open our session with prayer today and emotional benefits of art. We lift Singing Toralai, singing Toralai, singing Toralai, this COVID year 2020. As we come to the end of our Pamper Day, we meditate through body and sound. Let's integrate and adapt to changes and live mindfully every day. Singing Toralai, singing Toralai, singing Toralai, this COVID year 2020.
Beautiful, Linda. Which one we go to next?
Well, I hope nobody minds, but we thought, especially for Leonie's sake, we'll do the Geelong Football Club theme song, because last Saturday we rejoiced before the game around the village here. We went around playing our ukes and the song, and really we won the first half. We did reach the grand final. We've got a lot to be proud of. So let's sing it. We are Geelong, the greatest team of all. We are Geelong, we're always on the ball. We play the game as it should be played, at home and far away. Our banners flying high from dawn to dark, down at Cardinia Park. Yeah.
Beautifully sung. And the next one is?
I Have a Dream.
Yep, we're there.
I have a dream, a song to sing, to help me cope with anything. If you see the wonder of a fairy tale, you can take the future, even if you fail. I believe in angels, something good in everything I see. I believe in angels, when I know the time is right for me, I'll cross the street. I have a dream. I have a dream, a fantasy to help me through reality. And my destination makes it worth the while, pushing through the darkness, still another mile. I believe in angels, something good in everything I see. I believe in angels, when I know the time is right for me, I'll cross the street. I have a dream. I'll cross the street. I
Beautiful. Thanks, Linda. Di, if you've got to go, please feel free to leave. And we just had Maureen Zampatti saying she's trying to get in as well. So she might be an hour late, but she'll get here.
That's all.
The next one, Wooden Heart.
Wooden Heart. Now, is that okay to keep going? We've got Wooden Heart and then Mull of Kintyre. If you want to break us up and bring us in later, that's fine. Whatever suits the group.
Jackie?
I think it'd be lovely if we, on that beautiful note, to switch back to Michelle. And
Yeah.
then after Michelle's workshop, it'd be lovely to come back to finish with your 2 songs. Oh, that
All
was
right.
wonderful. I do love a good ABBA song.
It's their best.
And
Yep, I love that one.
I love how you changed the words to Botany Bay. And with COVID, gosh, you girls are clever, I tell you.
Oh yes, I think you have to get to a recording studio pronto.
Fantastic.
That was excellent.
Well, Michelle, do you want to share your screen again and we'll pick up where
Well,
you
I'll
were?
say goodbye to everyone. Thank
Okay.
you. It
Thanks.
was lovely. Thanks. Thanks, Linda.
Later.
Like music, art's another avenue that you can start to tell story. And when sometimes we don't have the words to express what we felt or what our experience was like. I know a lot of the people that might be watching this are maybe beyond the birth, birth being really present to them, but it may be that their daughters are going through that, or someone that you know. But I think that an art therapy process can be useful for revisiting any old memories or any process, whether it's grief, loss, trauma. Trauma, it can be really helpful to do with the assistance of somebody, but it can, and that gives further acknowledgement and understanding and value to be held within that space as well. But any situation of grief and loss can use this art therapy process, because when we're feeling deep emotions, it's hard to sometimes explain or express what it is that we're feeling. And really, we know how to express what's happening, but we don't really necessarily have words to express how personalised that experience was. Because we can describe things, but this is describing something that we've never felt before so often. So our reflective process throughout gives us that, as well as our visual form gives a presence of that. And when I say that, we're using new eyes when we draw, that offer us a sense of working with something in an abstract way, so therefore it gives us new descriptive language. Now my computer's just, there we go. So looking at change is one of the things that we know is the only constant in life. And that's again one of the reasons why coming back to the present moment is where we're coming from when we're using art therapy. And what we're wanting to do when we're creating is embody our experience. And to do that, we're relating to our experience as the body experiences it, as we might relate to it from our lived body as the subject. So we're looking at personal experience, subjective, objective, and intersubjective viewpoints when we come from it as well. And we're also integrating this new knowledge, this new form that we have into our body. This is a beautiful prayer I love, and it sort of embodies acceptance and commitment therapy in a nutshell, as well as a place where if we come from this is our intention of how to live, then art therapy can be a really wonderful process for journaling to assist us to be with our serenity, accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things that you can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So I just love that. This is some of the art that I do, and when I do it, this is an Instagram account, and it's called Her Art Sense. They're sort of musings that I do as journaling that'll allow me an opportunity to come into my own sort of meditation and check in with my body, quieten into my body, and experience a sense of what remains to be heard. So a lot of the figures are sitting in lotus position and without clothes on, only because that's that sense of going, right, if I still myself, come back to present moment, what else remains? What else is left? So with that embodied experience, what does that now look like? So you can't really see them there, but you're welcome to have a look on Instagram. And I think we'll just jump into the process now, but what I might do is take you through a really short mindfulness practice. So I invite you now to just get into a comfortable position, and you might like to push your feet into the floor and get a sense of the ground beneath you. You don't need to close your eyes, you can just fix your eyes on a spot. You might like to sit upright with your back straight and just letting your shoulders drop. Getting a sense of the gravity flowing down your spine and anchoring you to the ground, to the floor beneath your feet. And I'd just like you to take a moment to notice what you can see. So averting your eyes from the screen and just allowing yourself to take in the whole room. Noticing how you're sitting. Notice what you can hear. Noticing the temperature of your body. Maybe there's lots of different temperatures in different parts of your body. The back of your neck, the tips of your toes. Behind your kneecaps. Behind your earlobes. Noticing what you're doing with your hands. Notice any sensations in your nose and your mouth. Just notice how you're feeling in your body. Notice what you're thinking. And take a moment to recognize that there's a part of you there that is able to notice and be aware of everything that you do. That part of you that can notice everything that you see, touch, taste, smell, think, and feel. And just notice the part of you that's noticing. Just for the sake of simplicity, let's call that part of you awareness. And I invite you now to close your eyes or keep them fixed on an open on a spot, whichever you prefer. And bring into awareness your own breathing. And for a few breaths, I'd like you to completely empty your lungs, to push all of the air out of them until there's no more left, and allow them to fill by themselves. And as you do that, I'd like you to observe your breathing as if you were a curious scientist who's never encountered breathing before. Notice how once your lungs are empty, they refill by themselves. You can take a deep breath in if you want, and see if you can notice how there's really no need. It just happens by itself. Notice your breath flowing in and out. Notice your chest moving in and out. Notice your abdomen rising and falling. Notice your distraction. Notice your thoughts. Notice the sensations in your body. Now I'd like you to reflect on why you came here today. Is there something that matters to you, something that is important, that is deep in your heart, that motivated you to come here? I'm thinking what that is. Is it about connection? Is it about improving your life or personal growth? Learning new skills? Building better relationships or being a better wife or mother or friend? Feeling like a better person? Is it about your time, using the time on your planet, on this planet, effectively to help others and to help yourself, or both? Is it about work or family or friendship? Or is it about your health and your vitality and your well-being? Is it about learning how to look after yourself or to treat yourself well? Or is it to regain something that you've lost, or to come to terms with something painful? Or is it to search inside your heart to clarify something that's there? I want you to acknowledge that you're here, present now, and that you've put in effort to be here. And just acknowledging again your body, the temperature around the different parts of your body, the smells in the room, any sounds outside, and coming back to the presence of the space. So that was a mindfulness exercise that's really just about coming into presence of yourself, presence of your thoughts, feelings, sensations, and space. And we'd like to move that. That's a acceptance and commitment therapy mindfulness activity by Russ Harris. I thought I better acknowledge him as well. But what I would like you to do now is to grab some paper and a pen. So just whether it's colour, whether it's black and white, doesn't matter what it is, it doesn't matter if it's small or large, but just to grab some paper, and we'll go through a really quite quick process. You don't have to do the process as we're doing it today. If you were to do art journaling at home, it's just about drawing and maybe giving your drawing a title if that's what you feel to do. But what you'll find if you're journaling is that you build up an art language that you start to get to know, and you can start to know how you feel about colours and forms and the expressions that you might use in a given day, and learn about yourself in that process. And you might just find it as a really nice quietening activity. So this is an example of drawing an embodied expression of how you're feeling now. And that's one that I've done. But having said that, what I'd love you to do is not focus on what I've done, and just allow yourself to do a spontaneous image without too much thought, but checking in with self. And I'm just going to give you maybe even just 3 minutes. I know the slide says 5. I'd like you to just allow yourself to be present and move into form, and trust your hands, and just only ask, how am I feeling, as you move into that process, using colour, shape and form. You'll hear your mind thinking, oh, this is this or this is that, but just allow. You don't even have to judge that you're making discernment about what something is or isn't. Just allow yourself to keep going and staying present. So I'll just give you a little bit more time, but otherwise, just allowing it to stay spontaneous and staying without judgment, staying present. And then the next thing I'd like you to do is take another piece of paper, and I'd like you to describe what it is that you've done in that picture. So describing, it might be as though you've never seen it before. So say you've drawn a person, you might describe, or a table, you're describing that as though you've never seen it before. So triangle, layered tones of form and line, strong, flat, angular earth tones, fluid blue hues, uplifting, reaching to upwards, descriptions like that. And again, I'll just give you 4 or 5 minutes to do that. I'll just shut the door. You might hear my children playing with the dog and groaning and moaning. So if we're wanting to give new form to something, to look at it with new eyes and a new form, in new words and new description, is why we're doing this process. So we're coming back to new, coming back to presence of being in a new relationship with how am I today. Considering that we have change every day. Where am I in my journey now? Comes from looking at things with new eyes. Now, people might be at different stages of this, so I'm just going to take you to the next step because I know we don't have a huge amount of time either. And what I would like you to do, we've drawn something quite abstract, and now we've sort of expanded on that from a pure place. Now what I'd like you to do is reduce that into clusters. So you might do that by getting 3 different coloured pens and just circling words that you think are similar, which kind of means less work. Or you might decide to write some description in some place and some description in another cluster and another bit of description in another cluster. And what we're doing is often we don't just feel one thing. We often feel so much, and we've often got so much going on. So we might be feeling sad and need to acknowledge that. We might be feeling pressure, and we might want to acknowledge that. So that's why we're clustering it. We realize that there's lots of different experiences that we have simultaneously, and we're wanting to make a little bit of sense and untangle those. So we're clustering our description. So in one, I've got weeping, untouched, bleeding, distinct, opening out, concave. In another one, I've got opening, upward, extending, growing out, stretching. And in another one, I've got strong, fluid, solid, and central. So you decide how you cluster yours, your sense of making sense of the words. And again, I'll just give you about 3 minutes.
Michelle, feel free to keep going. You don't need to feel like you've got to stop at a certain time. We're totally flexible.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, beautiful. Now, what I'd like you to do, I know everyone might be at different spots in terms of where they're at, but the next thing I'd like you to do is create a felt sense. Now, you might do, if you've done 3, you might do 3, but maybe just for all sakes and purposes today, we'll just do 1. And you can go on and do the others later. But what I'd like you to do is title that felt sense that you have, the sense of why you clustered those things. And because this is your life and your experience, your wording might be a particular way as well. So, for example, if you think of the title of a book, the title of a book doesn't tell you about the story, but it does give you give you a sense of what's going on. So a title of a book just picked up might be Unbroken, or it, and so I know nothing about that book, but the title gives me a lead on, or it might be from the light, from where the light hits, or a story might have a name that seems abstract to someone else, but it gives you a sense of what it's about. So my title here is Reaching Out to the Unknown from a Solid Base. So I have a sense of what that cluster is. When you're ready, what I'd like you to do next is take that title, that essence statement that you've created, and create another image. And this image, so I've slightly changed my title, but to Reaching Out to the Unknown. And I've drawn that. So I've given another felt sense. It might be that you use similar colours to the first image, it may not. But what we're looking at is taking what we knew before, or the sense of that, and creating something new, finding another form, doing a drawing of your title. I know that some of what I'm saying feels really abstract, but just trust yourself, because there's nothing that you can do in art therapy that's wrong. And I'll give you a bit longer for this because hopefully you get the opportunity in this one to just allow yourself to really listen, being mindful to your thoughts, feelings, sensations, any urges, and feel how you are truly present. When we use mindfulness, we're just noticing, we're just observing. And in this place of observation, with a little bit of distance, by being the observer, it allows us to see more of what's really there sometimes. Enjoying the subtle things, the small things. And the next thing I'd like you to do when you're ready is just to write another title. And this is the title of the image. So the other one was what you were taking that subject and doing, but now maybe you've discovered something, maybe you found that. So for me, that was seeking new understanding by not seeking. And that became my title. So just see what it is, where your thoughts have been, how that might feel to you. And whatever comes for you as a title, hopefully comes with a little bit of a new understanding, an insight or an observation, a sense of where you are now. And now I'd love to invite people to share. So I'm going to close the share screen. And I'd love to see or hear about what people's journeys, thoughts, feelings were about going through that process, because obviously it's not just a process for trauma, it can just be an everyday reflective self-care process, because life is always changing and we can always benefit from coming back into our present experience. Linda?
Well, I went for the present moment. When I first came into this session, I put a lot of preparation into it, and I was very anxious because we couldn't get through. So my picture is very anxious, black. Then the problem was solved, and that's a different colour. And then very happy with the session, so outward it's colourful. Then I put it into 3: anxiety, becoming calm, and a sense of relief, happiness and rejoicing. And I called it Journey Through Darkness to Light.
Awesome.
And the final one was breaking through, because this is always happening to me. I become very anxious because I like things to be perfect, and I go through all the different colours, but it all ends up breaking through to happiness.
Oh, that is such a wonderful story to share. Thank you so much, and thank you for sharing that. It's such a common experience to have. You know, I guess when we talk about trauma, we have little bits of trauma throughout our day, don't we? Where our heart starts to go and we feel that anxiety, and our whole body is kind of hypervigilant and wanting things to be perfect, and it's like the adrenaline is going, and we're fully present, but we're kind of, you know, and if then it goes out of your control, what you were speaking about, that sense of technology going then it's tricky as well, and there's your values were being challenged as well, which is a huge thing in birth trauma, in having a loss, in any given change that might happen. We have that on a daily basis when our values are challenged, which is wanting things to be perfect, investing because you really care, all of those things, and then you broke on through to that shining light. Yeah. But what I love about your drawings is that they're really felt. It's your felt experience. Yeah, and definitely relate to that. Thank you. Was that helpful? Was that to give it form?
Thank you. Yes, that's good. Thank you.
Thank you. Did anyone else want to share theirs? Well, Leonie, you've got to unmute yourself.
Mine's not very colourful, but and it's all on one page. But
if people want to make her bigger, you can pin her video, which means that we can see hers in a larger space.
So I started off. This was the first one, and just started with myself in the centre. Firstly, being embraced by God and held by God, really. So contained and safe. And then the ripple effect, 2 ways, the effect other people in my life have on me, and the effect I can have on them. And the words were circular ripple effect, mutual impact, embraced, supported, connected outreach, helping and caring, and the solid, strong, central, interconnected, held and loved all went with that. And the title that that went with that was feeling centered, held, supported, and supporting.
Mm.
And the next one came from realizing the gifts that I have been given from God and also from other people, impact or influence of other people. This gift that I have to share with others, who then the gifts that I have to share with others, who then share that ripple effect that goes on. And the title that came from that was Gifted to Gift, Rainbows. So if I had my pencils, that would have been a rainbow.
Oh, wow. Thank you. It was a beautiful description and a beautiful journey. I had this little sense of warmth and just reciprocal kind of love and support, whether it's bound that way or that way. It's sort of felt really your title said it all. So thank you for sharing.
It's a good exercise. It was very affirming.
It's really nice to give form to something that doesn't otherwise have form. It's a felt, embodied experience that's truly personal and unique, and lovely to reflect. Thank you.
Beautiful. I was going to quickly say to everyone, I've lit a candle just for, you know how we always do the body of sound at the end, and we bring in Gabriel Miller, our beautiful friend who passed away, and she is one of the trailblazers of Pamper Day, and she loved doing meditation, and I know that she would have loved this session. So we won't do the body of sound because this is just so wonderful to sit and do this with Michelle, and I think it'd be lovely to finish with Alan and Linda on a really uplifting note. But I'm going to do mine quickly because I don't want to take the time and fall into tears because my father's in hospital. But I'm just blown away with this because as I'm drawing this, I'm seeing feathers and palm fronds, and then I'm thinking, oh God, that looks like Dad's eyebrows, and then I started drawing these spirals and eyes, and I'm thinking, oh, in a journey, yeah, overwhelmed, everything like this. You know, how do I deal with all of this? I don't know what it's like to lose a parent and all that sort of thing. And then, so I ended up calling it eyebrows. And then this came, it's just so lovely, you know, and, you know, these are my father's eyebrows because Emmanuel and I combed them for him before he got in the ambulance. It was so beautiful. And he's saying, no, you've got to comb my hair. You know, he loved his hair. He does love his hair. He hasn't got it. And so this became, you know, from eyebrows to all those feelings of protection that Dad's always given to us. And these beautiful wings and the palm fronds and holidays and all that sort of thing. But his beautiful silver hair. And I was combing that back. And even in this intense physical pain that he was in, you know, he's just pulling my hair before I get in the ambulance. He didn't say that, but I know that's what he meant. And it's one of those great moments. So I had to share that quickly with everybody. Thank you so much, Michelle. It was a really good session, wasn't it? And I'm glad that Gary is here also to share it with us. So
You enjoyed the process. Did anyone else want to share, or shall we do some singing?
wow.
Or ask any questions? Or
Yeah. Oh, just thank you, Michelle.
Yeah.
Really. We can clearly see how powerful art therapy is. You know, it's certainly a process, and it puts you straight into the present. It's beautiful. Thank you. Well, I'm suggesting we go straight to Alan and Linda. And I always love listening to their ukulele songs.
Thank you. Can't you see I love you? Please don't break my heart in two. That's not hard to do, 'cause I don't have a wooden heart. And if you say goodbye, then I know that I would cry. Maybe I would die, 'cause I don't have a wooden heart. There's no strings upon this love of mine. It was always with you from the start. Treat me nice, treat me good, treat me like you really should. 'Cause I'm not made of wood, and I don't have a wooden heart. Love guitar, oh, mist rolling in from the sea. My desire is always to be here on my guitar. Far have I travelled, and much have I seen. Dark distant mountains and valleys of green, past painted deserts, the sun sets on fire as he carries me home to the Malakintar. Malakintar, oh, mist rolling in from the sea. My desire is always to be here on Malakintar. Sweep through the heather like deers in the glen, carry me back to the days I knew then. Nights when we sang like a heavenly choir, the life and the time of the Malakintar. Malakintar, oh, mist rolling in from the sea. My desire is always to be near a Malakintar. Smiles in the sunshine and tears in the rain still take me back to my memories remain. Flickering embers grow higher and higher as they carry me back to the Malakintar.
Beautiful.
Thank you. That was fantastic. Fantastic. Wonderful.
We enjoyed it.
Oh, thank you, Linda and Alan. That's a beautiful song, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you, Linda and Alan. You made me get mine back out again. I haven't seen
Oh,
it.
good. We're starting back on Wednesday.
I know, that's why I thought I better practice.
With on.
I'd love for you to put up the other one again so I can, the one that you said first, so then I could take a photo of it.
Which one was that?
The one that you made up at the start.
Yeah.
Oh,
The lyrics were fantastic.
welcome. Welcome to Pamper Day.
Welcome. Oh, that's so cool.
It's to the tune of Botany Bay.
Yeah,
Ah.
thank you.
Very clever.
It was really cool.
Well, thank you to everyone. Are we going to set a date for our next one? Is it the last Sunday in November? Is the 28th?
Usually we do it on the 4th Saturday.
So Saturday, yeah, that's the 4th Saturday in the month.
Okay. Let's go with that unless there's a clash that comes up.
Mm. Yeah.
And Rhonda's doing that. She's going to present her book and also do some Feldenkrais with us.
Oh, great. So we've got the topic already.
Yes, yes, yes.
Ourselves. We might make the bulletin this time.
Oh, it's all good. You can be forgiven because of the footy.